This is Mitch for Indigenous Insights. I'm at the KBIC, the new Inaugural Center here in Baraga, and the Anishinaabe Racial Justice Conference is just wrapping up. It's Sunday afternoon, and I'm here with
Cecelia Lapointe.
And Nicole, honey.
All right, so we'll start with you're running things here today, right, Cecelia?
Yes.
And let's have you tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes. I am KBIC and also Bad River. I live downstate in Manistee in the Little River Band of Ottawa Indians community. I'm the director of the Native Justice Coalition and also the founder and owner of Red Circle Consulting and Wabashijak Press.
Very good. And tell us a little bit about the conference that took place this weekend.
Yes, this is the inaugural Anishinabe Racial Justice Conference, and we picked Keweenaw Indian community to have this event in a rural and remote community. A lot of people came statewide and regionally from different tribal communities throughout our territory. We had workshops, presentations, and round dance and other activities for everyone to enjoy and discuss racial justice.
Very good. And why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you did here today?
Yeah, so I'm Nicole, honey. I'm also KBIC. I'm here presenting. I'm from the University of Michigan Medical School, so I'm here talking about substance and alcohol use and how it's affecting the Native communities today.
Tell us a little bit give us some highlights of the conference.
Yes. One of the highlights is the panels that we had. We had an elders panel, a youth panel, and a Black-Brown solidarity panel. The elders panel had representation from different tribes in Anishinaabe. The youth panel was all Hannahville youth, and the Black-Brown solidarity panel represented statewide communities such as Detroit, Flint, and other communities.
All right, so tell us a little bit about some of the memorable moments in some of those panels. Did it get pretty deep?
Yes, it got deep, and definitely the elders shared some great wisdom, and people were able to ask some good questions. The youth panel showed the bravery of the youth to share their stories and to be the voice of the next generation. Very good. Tell us a little bit about your presentation.
Yeah, so being KBIC from this community, my mom grew up here. I actually didn't grow up here. I grew up in New York.
New York.
So yeah, so I would come here every summer, hang out for a couple months. But I ended up in medical school, which a lot of Native people don't. So I'm hoping that I can hopefully be a bridge between the Native communities and Western medicine, and try to, bridge the gap there. So coming here, I kind of wanted to target the youth and talk about substance use and alcohol use. I was talking to one of the parents who brought their child to my presentation, and she was really excited I was talking about it because he didn't think that it was a problem in Native communities. He thought it was the same all over the country, but actually it's like almost double the use.
Double.
Yeah, so just kind of like an average overall different substances, but kids are getting involved in it earlier here, and it's something that we definitely have to target and do more research on, but I think it's something that we just have to start talking about.
Very good. All right, so we're going to get a little deeper into it here. We're going to keep you here for a second. This is Indigenous Insights. Let's get back into the music.
Representing the urban skit.
Okay, so this is Indigenous Insights. We're back at the KBOCC, and we're here with
Cecelia Lapointe.
And Nicole, honey.
And Nicole, you work a lot in substance abuse, right?
Yeah, I'm a medical student, so I'm looking at research, how it affects Native communities.
Okay, and then so the question that we're all kind of forming here together is how that kind of connects with racial justice, right?
Yeah. So, I looked at a bunch of research, and it's showing all these higher numbers for Native youth and earlier use, and it's affecting their bodies differently. So, the question became, why? Why is our community separated from everybody else? And, there's this new study in genetics called Epigenetics. I don't know if anybody knows about it, but it's basically your DNA changes based on, stress and different traumas.
Okay.
So all the generational trauma that Native communities have gone through, from, genocides to boarding schools to, just systemic racism, has changed our DNA. So that's kind of the basis on the scientific reason why we handle things differently and we handle substances differently.
Yeah,
so
there's a measure there.
Yeah, there's
Wow.
actual scientific data that shows it. So, we have to work towards better education on what these substances are doing, how they're affecting our community differently, and, even just doing more research on how the access of these things and how we can prevent it.
What kind of research do you see happening for that kind of stuff?
I think more genetics. I think looking exactly at what genes are affected and maybe how we can switch those back to being normal and back unmethylated, basically.
Yeah. And then here's another question then. I'm 31 now, and growing up, there's always been don't do drugs and stay away from alcohol and stuff. But the problem still is kind of there.
Yeah.
Up and coming in where you're working, do you have kind of those, what would you say, innovative ideas to kind of get the youth away from this stuff?
Yeah, so I think one of the things is, like you said, even cigarette ads, they always had those scare tactics on TV. Don't do this. This is what's going to happen to you. And they've shown that helps a little bit, but you're right. It's not all encompassing. It's not fixing the problem totally. There's this thing called motivational interviewing. You can do it with your friends, your kids, students, and basically instead of just yelling at a kid if they're doing something wrong, telling them they're bad and shunning them, you gotta let them work around the idea. You gotta ask them, hey, I heard you did this, how's that make you feel? What do you think your friends would say about this if they knew you were doing this? What do you think your parents would say if you knew that? And it helps them to internalize it and realize what they're doing, and hopefully that's been shown to help people change behaviors.
What would your elders think, basically? Or you can ask what your elders think when you're taking part in those activities. Okay. So then how did you feel your audience, I guess, related with your presentation?
Yeah, I think a lot of the data that I was showing was hard to listen to just because, it's affecting our community a lot. Yeah. And, it was kind of a downer in the beginning, but I think showing all the research that's going on right now and where we're heading and the ideas that I have. And hopefully one of the things that I'm trying to do is build a community with the Native youth, and hopefully I can get them down to the University of Michigan Medical School, take a bus of kids down, show them what an OR looks like, show them, let them play with all the tools, all the simulation center that we have there.
I want to come to that. I'd like to play with the tools.
So be on the lookout. That's going to be a thing hopefully in the next year or two.
Very cool. We'll get a hold of us and we'll do a follow-up then and get that out there. That'd
Absolutely.
Be really cool. All right, so when we come back, we'll talk with Cecelia a little bit more. This is Indigenous Insights. This is Indigenous Insights. This is Mitch hanging out with you here on your Saturday. I'm recording this. It's Sunday afternoon, the previous Sunday afternoon, here with
Cecelia Lapointe.
And Nicole, honey.
See, I was wondering if people are going to introduce themselves the same way or say something different, but you guys keep it the same. Cecelia, you work on a lot of different things. What else are you working on?
Well, with the Native Justice Coalition currently, we had a very successful conference, so we're going to keep this moving. We're looking to have it in years to come. So in addition to this conference, we're working on our Anishinabe healing stories on racial justice. And we are having our first event in June in the Little River Band of Ottawa Indians community. And we'd like to have, I think we're going to be able to have additional funding. It's about grant writing and getting the grants for what we have. We're not an official 501c3, but we have a fiscal sponsor at this time. So basically what's next in addition to that is we're going to launch a Two-Spirit project to address issues on gender identity, expression, and sexual orientation in our Anishinaabe communities with an emphasis on, creating safety, having these conversations on decolonization, because we find that a lot of people struggling and not really having supports, and especially in our rural and remote communities, we're really passionate about bringing this work to the north and to Anishinaabe.
Very cool. And once again, for people looking for more information,
www.nativejustice.org.
There you go. All right. Once again, Miigwech for sitting in with us here today, and keep in touch. We'll talk about both your guys' upcoming events and programs and activities. Miigwech.
Miigwech.
This is Mitch for Indigenous Insights, and we're back with
Cecelia Lapointe.
Nicole, honey.
And I didn't interrupt your breakfast. I think you were just wrapping it up right here today on Sunday. You guys was at your breakfast session, and that was about all you did on. What did you guys do today besides for breakfast?
Today we're having a statewide conversation just to wrap up the conference and get feedback on how it went. I think it went really good. We had roughly 200 people come and attend throughout the weekend.
Wow. And that breakfast, I felt kind of bad interrupting it. You guys were sitting there having a good discussion, and it seemed like a lot of people came to the area. And did you guys have a good connection with those people? And what are you guys taking away from that after this event?
Yeah, we had a lot of good connections, a lot of new faces come to this conference, and I think what we're taking away is just working towards building a larger racial justice coalition for our people.
What's your final goal? Like, where you see it going? Like, I really like to hear people when they start talking about their goals and their efforts, where they're finally going, because like you're just saying that you hope to have many more of these.
Yeah, so I think, this is the first one, and it was really awesome to have people from all over come here. We had urban natives here, we had rural natives here, we had...
I like when you say that. We're from a small town.
And, there were elders here, people who had good history and good stories to tell us, and there were young folk here. And I think bringing all these different communities together is helping us build an Anishinaabe coalition. And I think that's important for us as our culture and us as a group, that we can all come together from all different areas and different walks of life. And so I think it's going to be really great going forward to have more of these conferences and have a, deeper network to work with.
I think so too. I mean, I've been to a few different conferences and they all have that sort of, I'm trying to put my finger on it, because once you go to these conferences and you separate, you have kind of withdrawals. You just want to see those people again and kind of work towards that same energy. We mentioned it. A lot of people came from all over the place. Where are people coming from on this, and who's all working to make this happen?
People are coming from across the state of Michigan. So we had Detroit, Flint, that representation for Anishinaabe and other Native folks that live in the cities in the Lower Peninsula, as well as we had a lot of representation from the Sioux Tribe, Bay Mills, Hannahville, Kuna Bay, Bad River, Leech Lake, Red Lake. We represented regionally really well for our communities. This was a larger initiative between a variety of organizations and universities. So one is the Michigan Roundtable for Diversity and Inclusion. They're based in Detroit. We had been working with them to build a larger racial equity coalition, and the project we picked is to do a conference. Then we narrowed it down even more to focus solely on our Anishinaabe communities. So it came together really well, with also additional support from Northern Michigan University, Michigan Tech. We had support financially from Miigwech, Gun Lake Band, of Potawatomi, and so it just kept growing and growing and growing, and it's so great that it came together this way.
Absolutely. All right, well, I'd like to thank you for taking the time, first of all, to put the event on and come to our community and do this for the people and everybody here. And thank you for taking the time to speak with me here today. Miigwech.
Miigwech.
Miigwech.